Being a targeted individual means your life is effectively done, completely destroyed. And the biggest pain is just from these electric weapons, where there's just a whole lot of things happening and you're being microwaved and zapped with these directed energy weapons. But there are other sort of hidden psychological damages that get done. And I don't think most of us get to sit down and think long and hard about the other hidden damages. And one of them is that as a person, you don't get to evolve. You're effectively stuck. It's almost like you get stuck in one place or one era of your life. Because now, thanks to voice to skull, criminals can just beam the same thoughts 24 hours a day, and you're not left with any time to do any free thinking, to be yourself, in no quiet time. This does add up. Over 2 years, it's okay. I mean, it's still you're still understanding that you're a victim and you're still researching. Once you cross over the 5 year mark, it's like, wow, okay, how long is this going to go on for? And then, especially once you get over 10 years and you realize this voice to scar thing that just disrupts your brain, actually eats up pretty much like almost all of your time that you're awake. And just as an example, as a good illustration, anyone could think of what type of person they were when they were a teenager, let's say 18 or 15, 17. And imagine being that person, like you turn 50, let's say. But imagine just the rest of your life from being a teenager, you never get to evolve. You find exactly the same jokes funny, you're listening to the same music, you're dressed in the same way, maybe if you're a boy, you're playing still the same video games, you still using the same sort of slang, and you would almost like just cringe, especially if like over that time there's eras and fashions change and there's like different phases. Maybe some people were born in the 70s, right? Imagine like things that were cool back then in the 70s and 80s. By the 90s, they were like cringy and they're completely not cool anymore. So, but just imagine you as a targeted individual with the same thoughts, maybe same stupid three thoughts being repeated, but you effectively stuck somewhere. And it's one of the other silent damages that we don't actually sit down and think about. I mean, in my case, I've counted maybe about 5 thoughts that get repeated. Most of them have got to do with what was happening with the office bombing, of how I got stuck with my career as a software developer. So what the criminals do is that they repeat exactly the same thing, maybe the same, let's say maybe there was an honest review, like a performance review, and some of those points raised were actually valid. Like maybe you need to be a little bit faster, maybe you need to be a little bit more technically astute and technically strong. But now, given all this time that I've been a targeted individual, perps have made sure that I actually don't get to improve on anything. And they somehow consciously make me aware by repeating the same stuff every day, same thing. It's as if I got stuck at a certain point. So that is actually very, 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 very sad. It's just heartbreaking. That imagine you can pick any period of your life, especially let's say before the age of 25, maybe as a child. Imagine that period. It's as if somebody kidnapped you, and then you are alive, you're still alive or you're awake, or let's say maybe you have a child of your own, or let's say somebody has a child of their own, and this is maybe not a good example, it might be a bit of a sad example. That child gets kidnapped when they were 7, 8, and years later, 12 years later, 15 years later, that person is found, and then, but it turns out that person has just been kept in a dungeon somewhere and hasn't mentally progressed, hasn't developed in terms of social skills, in terms of just being part of society and walking around the world and navigating complexes of life. And yes, the child, you're happy as parents that your child has been found, but once you live with a person, once you start living with them, you realize, wow, this is actually quite sad to see your now grown-up child still like has kept quite a lot of developing as a person. And yes, that's effectively the same thing. That's currently what I feel is happening. If you just happen to be a targeted individual and you get voice to skull that repeats the same nonsense from back in whatever period when this thing started, but you never get to evolve, you never get to learn new skills, you never get to do anything.